Hi everyone, welcome back into the studio. Well, a couple months ago, actually, probably a little more than that, I did some California poppies, and those were really popular. They sold rather well too. But I had some requests after that if I could do the big Iceland poppies. Now, I did Iceland poppies before in one of my books and in a previous video, I think a long time ago here on the channel. But the Iceland poppies, here I have a board here. This is a 14 by 11, so it's 11 inches this way, 14 inches this way. Iceland poppies look good set on the side. As a matter of fact, there's a really great French painter. If you ever want to look him up, Paul de Longpre. I studied him for years back in the early 2000s, and he did some beautiful Iceland poppies. If you look up Paul de Longpre, D-E, and then Long, L-O-N-G-P-R-E, Paul de Longpre, he did some Iceland poppies that are just really pretty. He did quite a few of them. He was a gouache painter, painted in gouache, but he set some down more horizontally, which works really well. But these are some photos I got over from Adobe Stock, and really pretty. I love these. The Iceland poppies are a little bigger, and they get more floppy petals, and you can have doubles and stuff, so they get quite a bit more petal interest, and I like some of the petal interest on this one here. So I'm just going to build a composition of them, and let's see where we go from this. So I gave the board a coat of the canvas prep medium, let it dry, sanded at 180 grit. I'm going to put some colors down onto it, some neutrals, which I'll show you. This is my normal palette that I use. All the colors, everything that I use on all of my videos is listed down in the video description, okay? Any of the links where you can get them, and you can always write our studio if you can't find anything, and we'll get it to you. So I have all my colors. I put out an extra 2 colors here. This is the light gray, and this is the medium white, which are 2 colors that I'm going to use basically on a base coat this time. So I'm going to take my big 2-inch, an old big 2-inch Fusion flat here, and I'm going to take some of my medium white and some of my gray. And I'm not going to mix it like super well, but I'm going to push this right over the board. This will give me a nice tone, get rid of some of the white here. Sometimes I let that white, you've seen me, I let that white kind of peek through, and I love impressionism now. I'm more of a kind of an impressionistic painter, but sometimes I'll let that white peek through, but you can see you get instantaneous cover. It's really nice. I want this color maybe a little thicker. I'm feeling the surface of the color here. Maybe a little thicker right up in this area. I'm going to do it's been a while since I've done some of the very large knife work with you. We do it on landscapes and stuff, but to use my big paint scraper. This is my Warner. It's a paint scraper, so Warner paint scraper, you can get it on Amazon or something like that. This is a 2-inch wide one. And I like to use it when sometimes when I do multiple layers of backgrounds to give me some of that interest. So let's take some of this gray here. Let's take some white. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put out a little bit of white because I know I'm going to probably use more than this on the flowers today. So I'll put some of this out here as well. And we'll take a bit of our blue. Maybe, I'll look through my colors here that I want to use on these poppies. A lot of the yellows and oranges, which means a violet. So I'll take this blue over towards the violet a bit here. So blue and a little bit of our Quinacridone Violet. Some of these grays here. Let's get just a little bit more blue. Not going to mix it up too well because I love the modeling that comes in colors. So let's just kind of model that together. That's modeling where the colors don't super mix together. And then I'm just going to grab some of this and let's just pull this down. Now see, it'll go on really stripy here for just a moment. You just got to hang with me here for a moment. We'll put this on kind of thick here. And as I work it in here, these are kind of what we call the blending motions of it. I hold the scraper here very flat and blend that down through. I want I want this. I want some of this color to come off here and do what we call this kind of fracture off. That's what I want. But I want some areas pretty thick. As a matter of fact, I want some a little bit darker here. So let's just take this, model this up. Maybe a bit more color right down in here. I like that. And see, I like this. You can just see that up there. That kind of color right there, playing against these reds and pinks and stuff like that. So we'll see if we can get some of those colors in here. I'm going to take this big brush and pull through just a bit of that. Pull through. So I use the knife and that, and I want to create just this real impressionistic kind of background. Let's and I like that. I like the workings of that. Let's work, because this is a good day. It's a beautiful day out here today in Nebraska. We've had down into the teens, and today it's up in the high 50s out of nowhere, up in the high 50s. So it's a beautiful day. So it's nice to think about some, spring is not anywhere near here yet, but it's nice to have some warm weather, get some of these colors. Let's take some of this burnt sienna and green right around in here where I want to have some of that. Because see, the paint scraper doesn't do, it puts everything out more mottled. See, this is what I really like when I get this. It's and when the color right up here is real thick, you can see you get some real softness to it here. And I like them both. Let's just take some more of that burnt sienna and green here. Model that together here. And I usually use the color quite heavy right up in here. And so so when you're looking at the Impressionism, see, I look through some of these colors that I see through here. I like this, and so I'm just looking at, some of the colors that I would see through here. Let's just scrape that through here like that. You could hear it scrape, through that surface. And I can always soften it out, right? I can always soften it out, but it's giving me some movement back here, which is what I kind of like. Then I can soften and blur through without taking all of that off. I can blur through like this to create areas for my poppies to sit, and I can drop some a little bit harsher, like maybe right down in here. And I always like to take a color somewhere right off the edge. And that's so I don't frame it with the background. So sometimes I like to just take that. I like that. It's just, it's what you wouldn't expect out over here. That's what I kind of like. Sometimes I'll take my smaller knife, my painting knife here. A lot of people call it a palette knife, but if it has a Z bend in it like this, it's a painting knife. Let's go a little bit more green here. Right up like this, and we'll put in some more. We'll look and see, I like this kind of draggy stuff here. This gets a really interesting run of colors here. And so if it goes up like this, and maybe that's a little bit too much up there, you can soften it with your paper towel. You can soften it with your brush. You can just pull down and give a little bit of movement to that. I'm looking for interest in movement. Sometimes I spend more time on the background than I do the actual painting of the flowers, because I love to create interest in the background. And then, of course, we cover the vast majority of it all up. But it is fun to create these backgrounds. So I'll look at this as a little bit too much same, down here. So I'll break up this with just some of this color here as well. And I like that. Maybe I'll reach up, grab just a bit of this blue from right here, carry that color through, just push it right down here into this as well, just so you see that color coming through in a few of these areas here. So that blue carries through as well. So this will all get covered up, most of it in here. So all you'll see is like this, little movements of the poppy and stuff in there. So you can do it now, you can do some of this later. Sometimes I do both, do it now and do it later, put in some other greens here. But this is if you really want to get something with a lot of interest, now is the time, right now, to get some of that in there. Put some of those marks in. It's really easy because you're not interfering with any of your flowers. So I'll give this brush, it's quite thick with paint, so I'll give it a quick rinse because I'll probably use it in other areas. But see, I like this out here. Now, if you don't like that, just run your brush right through it and soften it out. Remember, even if it's dry with the heritage, you have a little bit of time with water. You can soften it. Like, see, I even like that little mark there. I call those the little sparks of color, and I like those little sparks out there. Especially as they head towards the background. Sometimes you stutter like this with your knife to break up some of those and create more interest and stuff back through here. That works. All of that works. If you'll find different little techniques you like to do, okay? All right, so I love this deeper red right up there. And I think a real pretty deep red one right up here, right up in here might be real pretty. And then, some of them right in here. So this beautiful area that I kind of painted right here, I'm probably going to kind of take one off. So I could take my, so that's going to be kind of a pretty area for one there. This red one, maybe move it over here because I like some of those marks. So we'll look at that red one right there. So I can just take the softness of my paper towel with a little bit of water and pull some of the color out. Now, sometimes I don't do this. Sometimes I do this. I like I want kind of one like this. This is a big double one here. This is kind of pretty. If we put a bigger one, and I'll just use my paper towel here to kind of visualize what it is I want to do. And I love that red, but this little guy right here, isn't that a pretty color with that real deep red? And that might look really nice right here. So I'll take just he might look really nice right in here. Let's just back off some of that color right there and see. So let's just go in and I'll use my fusion flats. I like to paint with big fusion flats. That's my favorites flats, and I use the filberts when I'm doing a lot of drawing. I don't expect to do too much drawing on this one, but I'll do a lot of drawing with those. Now I want to soften some of this out here too. So first off is I'm going to take, let's put in those big spots of red. Beautiful red is your quinacridone and your Naphthol Red Light. About 1-to-1 makes a beautiful red, and it's going to hit that kind of red right in there. And I want to put that bigger one. We'll let this, then I'll just lift the pressure of my brush, kind of sketch in, let some of this outside edge there kind of fade in there. See that? Let it fade out. So I have a really good, nice color, nice thick color. Just lay your brush on there, kind of soft like that. Get some nice thick color there with it. And then lift the pressure so it falls, so it's not so much there. Let's put a little Diarylide and some Hansa Yellow right into that center right there. We'll just drop that in. And I'm putting it in pure acrylic right now. You notice I did this whole thing in acrylic. I did not add any extenders. If you're painting this it's in the summertime and it dries real fast to you, you can pre-mix in extender into your paint. You can give a light coat of extender over the surface, and that'll do it. If you add too much extender, your colors will slide a little bit more, and you won't get this kind of rough granulation, which is what I'm going for in today's painting. So you got to be, it's kind of a give and take. You could also use open medium, which is a little bit stickier, but it'll give you more time. Okay, so let's go back over. let's get some of that yellow and this red together right out here, which is what we see into this one. Some orange going right into the red. So, and we're just blocking in some colors to see how I want to move these poppies here. So we'll take some red and just pure acrylic. So I'm not adding anything to it right now. And we'll put in a soft, and then I want that deeper red here. So I add that quinacridone and that Naphthol Red Light, and we want to, and you can see it mixes just a bit with that blue, and that's okay. I'm just gonna mix it just a bit with that blue. If you don't want it to mix, you go back and just lay the color on real soft like that, right on the top. You're thinking about just kind of troweling it on, laying it on. But I'll just go ahead and let it mix just a bit here. And I like that. And we'll push in a couple. And I want to undulate these petals. I don't want them to be super smooth all the way around. I want to get that undulation that you see in some of these out here. So some strokes will reach out a little bit wide or longer, some a little shorter. Here, there we go. There we go. Just tap and set that in. That's kind of nice. Let's set in some of those yellows into the center. Here, tap it out into the petals a bit to keep that softness there, okay? We might straighten out one of these here a bit and turn this one just a touch, I think. Maybe we'll so it rocks and rolls a little bit here. So in other words, I turn this just a touch. So let's do that. Right across the front here. Right across like that. We'll see how that goes here as we put that up in there. All right, let's go back. Maybe one of these beautiful soft yellow-orange ones right into here. That would be kind of nice. So we'll take these two. Maybe to keep it soft, we'll use some yellow oxide into this. And I'm using just pure acrylic because I want this to stay soft, right? Let's work this into this one back here, right? A few different petals. We'll make this one more larger, multi-petal. I want maybe this one to be more of the kind of the queen that controls it, but we'll keep this one having some different petals, some different things going on out here softly, right back here. So blur it. In other words, I'll blur this out a bit. So these green, so it picks up some of the green, some of the other colors here. So I'm not being too heavy with color. See, picks up a little bit of that light color there. I'll just let that happen. That keeps a softness to it and brings that background, see, right into the petal itself, right into it itself. Because this color is so thick in here where I put it down with that knife, it's still very wet, see. So I'm working into that. And let's work some brighter yellows and stuff right in here into that center there. That works. We might want to put a softer, like a little one right up here. Let's go back to that kind of reddish color again. So I'll look to maybe just a little almost open one back up here. Soft one. A little different right up there like that. Very impressionistic. A little yellow into its center. Just leave it. Just, imagine just part of it, painting part of it. That's kind of what I like to do sometimes as well. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and green, now a bit of the extender, and I'm going to run it into this petal here and push it a little softer towards the back. And I'm thinking 3-dimension now. I want this petal, I want this poppy here to come forward a little bit. So I put a little background into the back of this, and then I'll bring in some brighter color, back up to my brighter colors here, right up towards the front of it, and you can see it kind of creates a quick little dimension of the color. Do you see that, of the poppy, of the color itself? Maybe, yeah, and so maybe I make this one, because we want this one to be, these two to be the two main ones here. We'll let this one fade away back there. We'll soften it out and do a bunch of that art stuff on it here. Soften some of that out. But we, and I pulled a hole right there because it was starting to dry up. So you just touch it again, that's all. But maybe I'll do another petal here, maybe bent up like you see on this one here, kind of bent up to make it softer. So we'll look at that. Let's take some of this off. So a little bit of our burnt sienna and green goes into the back side of this, and you can see it softens it out. Maybe we push a bit of that right into that one. Maybe a bit of this color, burnt sienna and the green and into the red, will come right back here into this one, and that will help this one. We'll turn that one there as well. And then we'll put some color into this big one. Now we were going to look and have this one, let's do another brighter kind of yellow one here. We'll turn that around. Let's put some softness into it first. Some of this soft color. This will be a big one right here. I add a little extender. This will just give me some, I like it because it transparents out the color a bit, causes it to slide a bit. And see, I'm looking for these lost edges. All these lost edges there. That's kind of what I want in this one. Lost edges. Let's put some brighter color into what will be the center here. So we can kind of see the rock and rolling of our composition here. I kind of like that, right? All right. So now let's put some nice, beautiful reds, oranges. I love the peach color that comes from the Diarylide and Yellow Oxide and some of the Quinacridone. You start to get, we'll head that way just a bit, softer little color. And what I'm doing is I'm just thinking more colors to the bigger poppy here. More colors, more things going on. And maybe a few little marks, some other stuff. Let's bring in a different little petal there, different edges. See, I want some of that color just moving around out here. Just like that. I want to keep this very soft right in here, but we'll have a lot of interest to it. Let's build that light center. So this is, so you can see a soft tone that has the greens and burnt siennas in it, and then I start to build a little lighter. Let's build some light up into the center of it. So you'll see the centers as they get to the Spencer. Basically here, like here's a yellow one that goes going towards the whites and stuff. They'll get lighter in towards the center, and I want to capture that in some of this because it just adds more interest, getting it light. Not anytime that you add the whites and stuff, you're adding a neutral to your colors, and you actually add a tremendous amount of interest to a painting as you start to add the neutrals. So I want to get some of those neutrals in here as well. Just model those around. See, I'm just touching those colors around. Just get some of those neutrals in there. And it also, besides adding, besides going through and just adding the whites and the neutrals, lighten it up, it is adding a harmony to the overall painting because white is going to become a consistent color that's going to travel through all of the little poppies here. So we'll pick it up just a bit of it, but it'll be a harmonious color in that it's appearing in all of them, if that makes sense. Okay. So I haven't, when I'm doing this right here, if you notice I'm touching, I'm not blending it out. My colors here, this is dry right here. See, I'm painting this acrylic. And so as I go up, the key is, as I go up is, I don't want to, jump up in value too fast. So let me just show you this, okay? So if I put that up there, if I come in here and I put that white, that's eventually where I want to go, but that's too much, right? And then people think, oh, I got to have it wet because I got to soften it out. I don't paint like that. I'm a tone painter. So I go out there and I look, this white is too much. So I go take its value down. Let's drop its value down. And I push that into it. And I'll grab some more darker value and I'll push that into it. And then I have that in there and that puts it in softer. Does that make sense? So when you see that huge white and you put it on and this almost takes your breath away, you know, you've gone too light too fast, or reverse, you've gone too dark too fast, okay? So I don't want to do that. But I'm painting mostly dry here. Now we could paint this. I'll show you in other lessons. We could paint this completely wet into wet with the acrylics using the open medium. I have a little bit of the open medium out. This is the Diarylide open medium. I have some of it out, and we could do that. Maybe I'll show you a little bit of that, you know, so those of you that worry about it some. But I don't need to worry about it too much. I'm going to take my 2 yellows, a little bit of white here, lighten it up, and just use this as a light little touch here into this poppy here. And see, I'm going to leave those rough marks. I'm painting acrylic this time. I want this dry so that I don't blend too much, right? So, and let's take some of that lightness out with a bit of our other yellows, touching around. I love some of this Diarylide right into some of this orange. We can touch that right in. See, I'm looking for this modeling of color through there. Do you see that? So it's not all one color. You get all this depth and modeling of color through here. So let's push some up into here, right? Let's come back, maybe a little red and a little red violet. Let's get that deeper red out here that we really like. Lift up into that. Maybe add a bit of extender here so that's, I'm doing this for the slickness of the color here. Here we go, just like that. Okay, I love that dark up against that, so I want to emulate that a little bit here. Right, so we'll grab some of this, and I want these petals to not be quite so smooth on this. So let's grab just a bit of extender. That's causing it to streak out just a bit. Here, let's just grab the tip out here and just pull in a little bit so we don't destroy everything we did before. Okay, just pull in a little bit there, and maybe let's first put in more of an orange right up here into the front. We're going to turn this one more so. So what I'm doing is I'm imagining, matter of fact, let's just do this. We'll put a little yellow green, what would be the calyx right down here, right up underneath there. We'll imagine that. I'll rinse that green out of my brush here for a second. And then we'll take some of the lighter orange, pulling down towards that calyx. This is where we'll turn these petals. So they're coming down towards the calyx there. And then we'll touch into some of this red and violet and pull down in towards that calyx a little bit here. Just lift off here, right by the edge here. So it's putting in the front turned edge here. And boom. We don't want to have it straight, so I want to reach some maybe a little further up here and pull this down, maybe slightly darker, so a little more red violet into this, so it's a little darker as I come right down here like this into that one there. So it's kind of a pretty color. I captured some of the colors there. It has a little more orange in it that I like. So let's put in just a touch more orange. Some Diarylide, some Hansa, and just a touch of the red. Here, a little lighter, brighter little orange hitting right in there. There we go. Just some of that color into that one. That's kind of pretty. Maybe a bit of that lifting out of the center here. So Diarylide, Hansa, and a little tiny bit of the Naphthol Red Light. Makes kind of pretty orange. Let's go a little more yellows right in here and just lift off and lift off. That's kind of pretty, just like that. Okay, that's kind of a pretty one and very, very casual. Let's give a edge of maybe this is a little petal coming out here to this edge. Just let it come out. It's kind of neat. I like these kind of ones here that just kind of get all floppy everywhere. Maybe we'll take a little dark red, some of that, and just give a floppy little petal light out here on those. Don't need to do the whole petal because we've already got the look of the poppy up there, right? Let's take and everything's drying really fast because I'm painting acrylic, right? But I'm painting more for value changes and stuff and tones, what I call the tones. And so and the fusion brush is really kind of, for what I do this when I paint acrylic like this, the fusion brush is really important because it's a soft brush. So I can touch and lift off and I get almost this kind of blended look. But I like to use the corners and tap and get little sparks of color in there as well. And I can come back in there with maybe a little bit of that deeper red and kind of suggest a shape to that petal there. That's kind of a pretty little shape to that one. Let's go back. Now let's work on this one, and we'll look at some of our darker tones that we see in there. Some of our reds and violets here. Maybe a bit of that's dry, our green and burnt sienna. Now I can bring it back with a bit of extender here so I can transparent this out. But you can bring it back with just a touch of water. I've showed you that before when I paint pure acrylic. Let's put an edge here, right in here so I don't want to take away too much of that other color. So I'm just going to use this burnt sienna green. Let's add a little Diarylide and Hansa and yellow. Model all that up. See, it's a real toned orange here. Let's use that because you'll see those real toned oranges. Let's just add a few marks of this into this one, right? Just a few. Travel it around a bit. Travel that color as we build this big one right here and this one. So I'll push some of that color, maybe a little heavier right up here. And see, I can just push this around with my finger. And you can push it around with a little bit of water, but the tones are close enough that I can push it around, no problem. Here, we'll leave this one a touch more open. Now, this is really dry. That isn't going in there really well. So what I'll do is I'll take a medium tone. If that's my other tone, I'll drop this just a little bit more yellow right in between these two. And then what I like to do is just push it. You can see it almost looks like it blends it out. Now, the Heritage acrylics are non-toxic, so you don't have to worry about getting them on your hands. If you're an oil painter or something like that, don't touch them. Or if you don't know if your acrylics are not non-toxic, not all acrylics are non-toxic. And if you don't know, don't touch them. I never tell anybody to touch your acrylics unless you really know what they are. And since I'm the chemist behind these, I know. Okay? All right. So let's continue on. Let's put in a little more light here, a little more light yellow, some of that Diarylide. Model this all together here. Let's get a bit more interest right in here with these. Boom. Right out like that. That's kind of pretty. Right in there. So I'm just kind of emulating some of the colors that I see in there. Right? A little bit more of this, a little more Diarylide into that. Right? Some of those other colors in there. That works good. I'll use this to kind of thin this all out. I love that thinner color working. For years and years and years, I was just an acrylic layer painter. So I painted real thin layers. So I'm used to painting thin. And then I tried to get away and get thicker. And that was harder for me to do, to get away and get thicker. Now, I think I'm going to bend up a light petal here, which I'm going to grab a little burnt sienna, which is a toned orange, and a little bit of my other colors of the orange here. Yeah, something like that. Let's bend up a petal right here, so that right in here like that. So this one starts to fall back like that, right? And then we can have a petal coming down, because some of these icebergs are, have a lot of different petals on it, shapes on them. And they bend, and they're floppy, and they're big and beautiful. So that works really well on that. Let's make it a little brighter. Maybe it's opened up down here. So let's just open it up a bit here. A little more floppy and big and open down there. Okay. Maybe just a little turned edge right here on it. Let's grab some red, burnt sienna, and maybe a bit of the violet. This is, again, it's a little bright, it heads towards the red a little bit, but a little toned. And let's just give a nice undulated edge there to that poppy right there like that, with slightly brighter. Let's put a bit of that over here. Slightly brighter, but, a little bit of toning into it, right? Okay. So I'm looking at some of this color here. Do I put another petal in there? Do I just blend it out and make it all just a nice, big, beautiful, soft look to it? Now, let's try softening it out. Now, there's a couple ways. One is I can just take some water on my finger like this and push. See how I can push that out? Because this is the heritage, and the heritage is designed to do that. And I like that. See, I pushed right there all the way to the background color, and that's a little too far, so I'll take just a bit of the color and push that in. But with the heritage, you can push like that, and for quite some time, I'm going to put a little more burnt sienna. Burnt sienna, anytime you're out on these outside edges, and you want this guy to kind of tone down a bit there. That's what we want to do. Let's put in just a touch of a brighter, maybe let's add a little light to it. Some of my Diarylide Hansa, a little bit of white, maybe a tiniest touch of red to orange it just a bit. Let's turn one up here. A little petal up right in there. So got a big floppy petal. Then we'll put some darker little tips on it here. As this comes around like that, that's pretty neat. Let's put some light coming through that here. Just a touch of that light, maybe a bit more dark, so that you see this nice closed off front here, right on that edge, right there. That's kind of pretty. Big floppy poppy here. A little more burnt sienna, maybe right in here, just to see those edges, maybe nice undulating edges, various colors. Let's push some of that right out there. Big floppy poppy there. And the Dutch masters in the 17th century, 16th, 17th, 18th century painted a lot of the big Dutch floors, and I painted a lot of those big, huge, floppy poppies everywhere. They painted a lot of different kinds of poppies that I just loved. And so we'll pull a little color out there, just a bit into that one. Let's now you can put the big iceberg center in there. I'm going to push in a little bit more yellow here. Get that nice bright yellow right in there. That's some of the brightness that we're going for, right? maybe just a corner of our brush here to kind of say, okay, here comes a little center mark, a little bit of green, burnt sienna here into that right there. Some tapping, and I use just a corner of my brush. I painted this whole thing with this 10 Fusion flat, but I'll just tap in a little bit of the Hansa and the white right there on the corner of my brush. That works pretty nice. Let's take a bit of that yellow out here, out a little further, and maybe a touch of the burnt sienna green. Maybe you pick up a bit of that center there, and tap that Hansa and white right up there. Yeah, I don't want to put too much of a center because I'll take away from that other one. Let's burnt sienna, a bit of the quinacridone here, slightly different, and just draw this around. Kind of say push a bit here, soften it. Here we go. That's that big front, right? So you see that. Use that dark to kind of suggest the petal here, the edge of the petal. Maybe some of this beautiful light, and you see it coming out of some of the down, bent petals. A bit of that light coming out here. So we can pull a little bit of that light out right there. Not as light as we see in the other ones, but I think that's kind of pretty. All right, so let's go back into this one. This is our big guy. Let's go back to that burnt sienna, a little red violet. Pretty colors. Maybe tone it. Just a tiny bit of green will tone it. Or a little more burnt sienna will tone it. Now I kind of want that color just a bit toned. Let's see. Yeah, that's kind of okay there. Kind of okay. Let's look. Well, first, before I go, let's set that center in here. Burnt sienna and pine green. That center is going to come right in here. This is going to be our big guy, so we'll burnt sienna, tap a little green, then we'll wipe our brush, pick up some Hansa Yellow and white here, tap that in. Let's tap the light of that center there, maybe it's a little contrasty, so a little more yellow here. Just push these together a bit, push and pull, and they'll start to soften out. Well, that's good. Something like that, maybe up and around. Soften that. That's a nice center. Okay, and so we were going to lean out. We were looking kind of like this one, kind of like that one for that one. So kind of like this one here. We'll lean out a bit. Let's put some soft. Let's go back. A little green into this. A little light. Some soft back petals here. That toned orange. So to get that beautiful toned orange, we add some of that pine green to it to tone it back down. Let's push some of that soft color right in between there. Now we can also build textures. So I could also come right out in here, build some more color, which will really just like go pow, here it is. It all depends, Some of my low contrast painters out there right now are going, sunglass time, huh? Some of my high contrast painters are like, yeah, go for it. Yeah, you can control it. But so if you wanted to tone everything down, you just, put in a little bit of that pine green into this stuff and it'll tone right on down for you. All right, let's put a bit of that right around our center too. I just like that modeling of that color, through there. That's what I really like. Let's, so we bent up this one. Matter of fact, let me redefine this just a touch more right in here. A little bit darker. Right there like that. That's just a touch more contrast. Right there, right? There we go. It's kind of pretty right there with that bending it up. But we can bend one up also with some light, or we can bend it up with the dark here too, leaving that light into the center. But we could put a smaller, lighter petal bent up and then put a slightly darker one out in front of that, which would go with the other one. So let's bend up a lighter petal right here, coming right here around the front, maybe one right in here. The big icebergs can have multiple layers of petals, right? So you can paint multiple layers here and bend them around here, right like that, right? And maybe a little bit of this edge, maybe that's that petal right there. So that petal flops and goes there. This one's behind, this one's coming in front. Let's just put it definitely up in front, a little more color, right? And then, push a bit, and then right in here. So this one's coming up right in here. It's much towards the light. And then we'll put a burnt sienna and red, a little bit of green. Let's get some Diarylide into that. That's really makes it pretty. Let's add a bit of extender. Let's just try this. Bending, we'll bend one up like this, right up in here, right down, and see how that's going to go. Right up in there. More floppy here. A little darker here. Layering the petals on. Let's just turn that one a bit. And we could even go darker. Let's get a bit of the red violet and maybe a touch of green and a touch of burnt sienna right down in here. That can go a little darker. So this one up here can carry even some darker color into it. That's kind of nice. I want a better transition right in here. I'm going to rinse that color out of my brush here for a second, because if I have a lot of dark in it and I'm going to go back to a light, I'll get a chalky looking color, a dirty color, because I jump my values in my brush too fast. I like to stair step my values. So if I'm going to go from a dark to a light, I try to get that dark out of my brush, otherwise it just makes gray. So get that out of there. I like to walk up my value scale. So I'm going to go a little lighter, a little brighter, a little more white here. Let's build this one up just a touch here, like it's picking up the light on the inside of the petal here. A little lighter yellow. Can't believe I'm painting this bright in the winter time like this still, but that's kind of pretty, right? Okay. So that's kind of neat. Now let's go down the scale just a bit here and put in this one, this edge right there, that petal, that layer of that petal. So you kind of see it as a different layer there. And then we'll go right in to the dark, right up here, right? And let that just kind of fold through like that. It worked. I think it works. What do you think? I think it worked. So at least I like it. Let's go a little darker right down behind this one, and some of this right down in there like that, and we'll let that just sit in there. I kind of like that light coming into the petals this way, so it hits it comes right into there, so it's coming down and into the petals, so you're picking up that scoop and stuff, which means the light is right up here, which means this could go, we could actually push a slightly darker, little green, little burnt sienna, little violet, slightly darker petal right up here, which would help support that light source again. Right there like that. Dark up towards the front. That's work. Let's get rid of that dark out of there. Now let's go with that real red. Come over here where it's real clean. Quinacridone Red and Naphthol Red Light will push this real brighter red right here, right up in front. Smaller little poppy right there, right up in front. Maybe a bit of that. That Diarylide just works wonderful with that as you go to orange. So you can just tap in some of that Diarylide and look what happens. Because the Diarylide's a semi-transparent. It's kind of a weak color, so you can just build it and build it and build it, and it just looks great. So that's kind of cool. Let's see how that one has a light little petal here, just kind of pulled out right there. That's kind of neat, right like that. And more dark, and even goes down into some greens and stuff, into the calyxes and stuff down over here. So we'll just model in some green color, green and burnt sienna right up over here, and just leave that right in there. That's kind of neat. A little bit of the greens for the center there. A little dot of some Hansa. Might not even add any white to that. Just keep a too perfect there, just like that. That sometimes you touch it and it just works. So you leave it alone, right? All right. So that works there and there. Let's and that drops down. Do I want to create green and violet are some of the darkest, coolest colors that we can create. You could have a touch of blue in there, but that creates a real dark compositional green right here for that center to really pop off. Do I want to have that? I do like, so I like that darker green there. Maybe a bit of a spot of a lighter green, like a stem or so coming through there. Might be kind of neat. Because you got stems and stuff running in there as well, right? So it's kind of nice to have those there, little marks. And greens, model these greens up here. So as you put on some of these little leaf strikes and stuff, ideas, you get some pretty colors, differences coming out. There. That's kind of pretty. Yeah. Let's get that real dark compositional shadow right in there. Green and the red violet, real dark. And this will make this, through simultaneous contrast, this will actually lighten up the look of the poppies just a bit there as well. So so when you look at, see, like you look right down into here, this is what I'm looking at. You see that as you're coming down into that shadow, this is that, what we call this compositional shadow. These guys here are pushing, no light allowing to come through here, pushing that dark, where you see that dark. And so you can just use that to create some darks. And of course immediately come out to some lights as well. Here, so we can just pop some of these out, these light little colors out there as well. And yeah, that looks pretty good. We'll take a bit of this and do some dark and some light kind of stems here. And then I'll push some more colors back out over here, I think. Really colorful. So I'll use the little more color. Here you go. It's a very colorful painting. Nice one to have in the winter time though. Here. There we go. Just a few little marks for that. maybe a few little bits there. But most of the poppies just some green, stemmy kind of marks. No big, like, rose leaves, none of that kind of stuff there. Okay. Yeah, that works. I might take some of this dark shadow here and just push that right around there. Might even just grab a bit more, maybe my 3/4 inch brush with that here, and pull some of that down. Yeah. Ooh, I like that, just grabbing and blending down some of that poppy color. That's kind of neat. Let's try that. Take some of our poppy color here and pull that right down over here. Some of that right over here. Compositional colors creates that impressionistic edge, right? Impressionistic edge here. Yeah. See if we like that impressionistic edge there. Boom, just coming off there, off that side. That's kind of neat. Let's push a bit of that right in there. Bit of that color. That's kind of neat. Now, sometimes one of the things I like to do is come back. This is all dry. It's not a problem. We'll take a little blue, a little bit of our quinacridone here. Nice light. Let's go light. Add some extender to this so it's thin. Sometimes I'll add some of the other colors to it, but I love to do this in a painting. Just to put in some other little sparks. Clear sparks, like, so let me lighten this up a bit more. So you see that mark right here. Boom. Right like that. Just, you know, you get a nice mark of that light coming through. And I like that. Sometimes I'll bring it in here onto the side, right up to that poppy here. I like that violet and red kind of bit play of color, you know, on this one right up there. So this just enhances that look a bit. Maybe a touch of darker blue. This is where you get into that impressionism and different colors and stuff, so you can, you know, vary it a little bit. Let's pull some of that right in here and down. I'm just looking through the composition to see. I don't want to make it all about those blues and stuff, but, you know, you can, if you feel something gets a little too heavy, you can just pull through that and create that impressionistic look through it like that here as well. So you see that all, just break up some of that color. And, you know, we can come back in and, like, I can just take a bit of the darker stems and run some of those stems over that and set that blue back behind here. That looks pretty good. I like this. I might like a little bit of that, that color, a little bit of that in there, a little mark. You know, I like that powerful, sometimes that spark of color, boom, right in there, you know. That's, I like that in the impression part of it. Let's brighten that up just a bit more right in there. And that's up to you, how bright you want to take it. Here we go. Yeah, that's kind of neat. That's a very, very colorful, but we've captured some of the look that I wanted to capture you know, there without copying too much. Now, I think I will go back and I like this in here, but I want to bring a bit more interest. So I want to get a bit more burnt sienna and red here. Right up there. These are, you know, there's a lot of contrast in those petals there. Let's get our Diarylide into that. And maybe our Diarylide pulling up out of this one. So we get just a touch of that lightness. A little bit of white. You can even use a light green into some of that sometimes. It looks really pretty. You know, I do that in my roses and stuff sometimes because it's a beauty, you know, the light greens is a young rose, you know, so that works well. Let's put in just a few little bits here. Little marks of that floppy little poppy there. That's kind of neat. I feel like I really want to blur that one out, but I kind of like it. But, you know, you take some of your light, you pull into it, over it just a bit, and you take a little bit of water, and then you blur those two together, just like that, see? It blurs that edge just ever so. Maybe blur this back edge. You can do that with the heritage. That's what it's designed to do. You can do it for a couple hours in a painting. Then the acrylic dries, and then you have to restate your colors to be able to do something like that, right? But that looks pretty good. Now, we can get some more definition between these two if I increase the light right up on the front of this one, right here. Right? Just a bit of light right up on the front of that one. Let's go a touch more yellow into that. There we go. Puts that lighter petal right there, right up in front. Light and dark contrast. Kind of looking through your painting for that. And maybe a little bit more bright right up in here. If it wasn't bright enough, now it's getting there, right? I like that. I always put that Diarylide right between that run of yellows because it sits right in the middle. And so that Diarylide, see, it goes right on the edge. You can have that Hansa right in there. Then the Diarylide makes a beautiful transition out to your oranges and into your yellows. You know, it's just a beautiful, that Diarylide, just a beautiful pigment to work with. There you go. That's kind of pretty, right in there like that. So anyway, that's kind of neat. That let's add a mark or two right out here, just as a little bit of a blurry. Maybe that's a little tulip back there, or I mean, excuse tulip, a little poppy. Who knows? Maybe there's one right back there. Right, just blurry like that. That works. So it's kind of fun, kind of very colorful, and it paints pretty fast. What, just about an hour we painted that, and but you could see just working through the colors. Now, you know, I left this one really cool. We could, you know, you could put some of that brighter orange in there if you really want. Those of you, and I know a few of my students out there that love those reds and those oranges, you'll probably doing that. But you take your Diarylide and some of this color and increase the orange through the midground here. Just a bit of it, and that will bright. Boy, that does look kind of powerful. The longer I look at this, the brighter this painting keeps getting. So, you know, I'm not normally a very bright painter. Those of you that watch me for a long time, I don't really care for bright colors, but sometimes they're kind of fun to just dive into and paint, and you can get some beautiful looks to that, right? Let's put just a little bit lighter yellow right in there. coming out from underneath this one. I'll give it more of that layered look. That brighter yellow. Can't believe I'm saying that. Yeah. Some of my long-time painting students are going, "What happened to you, David? You got really bright living out there in Nebraska." Well, sometimes you see these beautiful sunrises, sunsets. It really pulls your vision of color, changes you. All right, I think that is all I'm going to do on those. But it's kind of neat. We painted the whole thing acrylic, a little bit of touching in, here and there into the extender, but I use the extender on this more for transparency and the slipperiness of the color, okay? But you can do that, and you can paint the acrylic just walking up and down the tones, right? And when you're painting acrylic like that, remember the one thing, I said it kind of quickly, but it's very important. Don't jump between, if you have a dark color in your brush, don't go jump immediately to a light color. Go clean that brush out. You can, I always say this, the value scale I show you guys all the time. The link to the value scale is over in the video description, but I always tell you, don't go more than 2 values at a time, anytime on your brush, because you'll start to chalky those colors out, dirty those colors. So if you're getting a lot of grayed out, dirty colors, it's sometimes because you're jumping between your values too quickly. Okay, all right. So that's kind of a pretty one there. Just a nice impressionistic one. Hope you enjoyed it, and go have some fun with it. A few touches of those reds. Boom, 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 in there would be kind of pretty too, but that's just a nice, casual, light little poppies. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to smash that like button down there on this video. That helps us, okay? That helps us, quite a bit. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel too. We're looking for more subscribers to the channel so we can grow our channel, so I can take more time off of my work and paint for the channel. I'd like to do this channel full time. Because I really enjoy teaching to you guys. But we need to get a few more subscribers, a few more things going on for that to happen, okay? All right. Thanks very much, guys. And if there's something else you want to see, don't forget to just write a comment down there. And Martha's a little bit behind on her comments. I told her, she goes, "You get a lot of comments on this channel." I said, "Yeah, I do, and I love it." We love your comments. We both read them together now every morning. We get up, have coffee, and read the comments and stuff, and she tries to answer some and everything, but and so do I. But we enjoy talking with you guys. So anyway, thanks very much, and I'll see you on another one. I have a bird up over here that I want to paint too. I think it's time for that again too. So kind of a lot of things to do. I'll see you guys.